Hey racers, and welcome to another live stream today on Wednesday, midweek. So for those of you getting out riding this weekend, a few more days before you can get out and get at it. Today's topic for today's live stream though is 5K runs for riding and racing fitness. So running is one of those things where it's easily accessible. Most of us know how to run, okay, to some degree. Might not look the best, but we can do it. You don't need any equipment. And hey, Rob, and you can do it whenever you want, right? You don't need a gym or equipment or anything like that. So that's what I'm going to tackle. I find 5K is like some sort of sweet spot. Like if I look at it, just in listening to all the riders I've spoken to over the years, all of the ones that have run, like 5K is usually a staple. I never hear someone say, "Oh, I run 3Ks or I run 7Ks." It's usually 5Ks. I have no idea why. Maybe it's just a nice number. But usually for say a 5K run might be taking you up to maybe around half hour mark, or could be less, could be more, depending on your ability, your athleticism, your speed, how long you've been running for, how much you weigh, all the rest of it. So you're looking at half an hour of cardio, okay, half an hour of pounding the pavement, or if you're at an athletic track or on a treadmill, of bang, 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 bang. So a 5K run comes into what's called our aerobic energy system. So our aerobic energy system uses oxygen to break down carbohydrates to be able to fuel us for our running. And so running is a great running or doing a 5K run. Hey, James, is a great way to be able to do that and get that energy system working. The problem with this energy system, though, is it only works that one energy system. So there's two energy systems that our body has. Okay, when it comes to cardio, we have our aerobic energy system, which is lower intensity training for longer periods of time. And then we have our anaerobic energy system, which is high intensity training, which lasts for short periods of time. Okay, and all different types of cardio and conditioning come in either one of those two categories. And so some sports will be very dominant in one energy system. So like a 100-meter sprint, if you're a 100-meter runner, then that's very anaerobic. You're not using oxygen, or your body isn't able to get oxygen in quick enough to break down carbs, so it's using readily available energy without oxygen. An aerobic energy system is sports like, say, doing a marathon run, okay, very long distance stuff. When it comes to riding, if you're doing, say, a 1 lap sprint and the lap takes you, say, 90 seconds, that's very much anaerobic energy system. If you're doing a 4-hour enduro, that's coming in the aerobic energy system, okay? And so the real difference between those two, without getting all nerdy and all sciencey and all that sort of stuff and trying to make it easy to understand, the anaerobic energy system doesn't use oxygen, okay? So the reason it doesn't use oxygen is because the intensity you're operating at is too high for your body to get enough oxygen in to break down carbs and energy to use. So what it does is it uses readily available energy that it already has in the body. And because it's using readily available energy that it already has in the body, it only has a very small amount of that. So what that gives you is a big energy boost, like in terms of intensity. You can operate at a high intensity, but you can only hold that high intensity for a short period of time. But a better way of explaining this is, let's say we went down to the park. So let's say me and you, Ben, me and you, James, me and you, Rob, let's say we went down to the park. And I said, okay, guys, I've got you at one end of the park. I just need you guys to sprint as hard as you possibly can from the very start. Okay, just go. So we do a warm up, do stretches, whatever. And I just need you to sprint as hard as you possibly can. What would happen is, as you're sprinting, the first minute to 2 minutes would be your fastest and most intense. Okay, that's when you'd be able to hold the highest level of speed. So if we had a speed gun there, okay, and we were not shooting you, if I had a speed gun and we were tracking how fast you're running, the fastest you would run would be in that first up to 2 minutes. Okay, 90 seconds to 2 minutes would be your absolute fastest pace. And then what would happen after those 90 seconds to 2 minutes is your pace would start to drop. Okay, now you're still giving it 100% effort. So don't confuse this with not trying. You're still trying 100%, still giving it 100% effort. Hey, Luke, but your body isn't able to keep up at that intensity anymore. And so it starts to drop off. And so what's happening there is those first 90 seconds to 2 minutes is we're in the anaerobic energy system, where your body's using readily available energy. It's not using oxygen to break down carbs to keep you going. It's an inefficient system, but it allows you to operate at a very high intensity. Hey, Brent. What happens after those first 2 minutes is then we will shift into the aerobic energy system. Now, when we shift into the aerobic energy system, that's where your body's using oxygen now to break down carbs and break down energy to keep you going. This is a very efficient energy system. But the problem is your body can't perform at that same level of high intensity. So what happens is that even though the system is more efficient, it forces your intensity to drop back. So if you're running, your speed is going to drop off. Okay, and you can hold that speed for a longer period of time, but you're just going much slower than what you were when you weren't using oxygen at the start. Hopefully that makes sense. If that makes sense, guys, just give me a thumbs up, because I know sometimes this stuff gets a bit confusing. So in terms of riding, what do you need to train and how do you need to train it? So when you go out and ride, so if I take, like, let's say a motocross event, okay, and let's say it's a 25-minute moto, okay, like a Pro MX event, 25-minute plus one, so probably 30 minutes, closer to 30. Now, you look at that and you might go, okay, it's 30 minutes, it's aerobic energy system, okay, I can use oxygen to be able to get me through. But the thing is, it's actually not 30 minutes of the aerobic system. It's actually 30 minutes of flicking between the aerobic system and the anaerobic energy system. Because if you look at riding, it's not like going for a 5K run. So if I go for a 5K run, it's like I'm doing the same strides, the same movement. Yes, there might be a little bit of uphill and downhill, but it's relatively consistent intensity for the whole 30 minutes. When you go into a motocross event, so like let's say the 30-minute moto, is the intensity is going like this all of the time, okay? Up, down, up, down, up, down. So like if you look at a corner, okay, so a really rough corner where it's really sandy, where you're really up on the pegs having to fight the bike and muscle the bike, that's anaerobic, okay? That's not using oxygen. That's your body operating at high intensity, doing everything it can to keep that bike in line and really manhandle the bike. But then on other parts of the track, like you might come up to a smooth straight, right, where you can sit down, you might have a nice smooth line going down the straight, you can sit down for a little bit, you might be going fast, but you can relax a little bit. And so this part of the track would be aerobic, okay? This is where your body can use oxygen because your body's not operating at as high of an intensity, okay? It's dropping back. So different parts of the track are going to be anaerobic and are going to be aerobic. We're going to have a mixture of both. So same for an enduro event. So if any of you guys do 3 to 4 hour enduros or even more, it's the same thing. So for a 4-hour enduro race, you might look at that at the start and go, it's 4 hours of exercise, that's the aerobic energy system. But when we dig in, it's actually not. Because when you look at any enduro loop, enduro track, again, there's parts of the track which are anaerobic and there's parts of the track which are aerobic. So an aerobic part of an enduro track would be like a fire trail. Maybe it could be some flowy single trail stuff, which is lower intensity, quite easy to ride. Then we look at the other side, which might be anaerobic, you might have a big hill climb. So when you have a big hill climb, that's high intensity. That's you giving it absolutely everything. Your body's working to its absolute max to get up that hill. Or it could be like a big log that you're getting over, okay? Or like a really tough rock garden or rocky section where you're really having to muscle and fight the bike. That's an anaerobic energy system. That's where your body's working so hard, it doesn't have time to get oxygen in to be able to break down carbs and to be able to give you energy, okay? It's just giving you the energy that it's got, that it's already available, it's using. And it's using that very, very quickly, which is why you can't maintain that high intensity for a long period of time. It only lasts for a short period of time. So hopefully does that make sense for both of you guys? And hopefully I've covered everyone here, motocross guys and enduro guys. Just give me a thumbs up if that's helped you to understand the energy systems that you're using first of all. So how do you train for this thing? Or how does a 5K run or running tie into this? So a 5K run purely trains the aerobic energy system, okay? Because it's just consistent intensity. It's just pounding the pavement, bang, 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 okay? Same thing, same intensity, all the way through for half an hour. Now, that's great for training the aerobic energy system, but then we're missing the anaerobic energy system. So you might be great on the track. If you're just doing 5K runs all the time, what you'll find is you're probably good at going to the track and just riding lap after lap after lap at a consistent intensity. But when you get to a race environment or sprints or pushing hard, or like for the enduro guys, when you get to the days where you're doing sprints and maybe not so much cross country, that's probably where you really struggle. And the reason you really struggle is because your body's not efficient with that energy system. It's not efficient at operating in the anaerobic energy system without oxygen at high intensity. And that's because you haven't trained that energy system. So the way that you train that is, if you like running, personally, I don't recommend running because it's too high impact and there's too many variables. But if you enjoy running and that's what you do, you can do a 5K run, say once a week. And then what I would do on the other days is then you want to be doing your anaerobic energy system training. So how do you train this? You use interval training. So short, sharp bursts of high intensity training. Okay, so what would this look like running wise? You could do hill sprints. So go and find a hill that maybe takes you a minute to sprint up to the top of the hill, walk back down for a minute, okay, get to the bottom, and then go again. And you can repeat that. And that will work your anaerobic energy system. You could also do sprints at the park. So go and map out, say, 100 meters at the park, sprint 100 meters, however long that takes you, might be 15, 20 seconds. Once you've done that, then walk back to the start, okay, and then go again and repeat that and do that for multiple rounds. So the whole goal here is you're flicking between aerobic and anaerobic in those interval workouts, okay. Whereas if you're just doing long distance runs all the time, what's going to happen is you're just training the one energy system, okay. You're missing out the most important part of racing, which is the high intensity stuff. Just another thing worth noting that I'll throw in as well. If all you're doing is 5K runs all the time and training that aerobic energy system, you're also reducing your strength and reducing your level of muscle mass, okay? So longer distance training like that causes what's called muscular atrophy. And pretty much what that means is just a fancy name for saying your muscle mass and strength is going to reduce. Because that's what that type of training does. So if you look at the physique of like a Tour de France rider or a marathon runner, look at the amount of muscle mass they have, right? Look at the amount of strength they have, very little. The reason that's a problem for you guys as racers, both for motocross and enduro, is at minimum, you've got a 100 kilo bike to wrestle around, okay? So if you've got a 100 kilo bike to wrestle around for a half-hour motocross event or moto or a 3 to 4 hour enduro, you need strength, okay? Your goal as a racer should be, you should be looking at things, okay, what can I do to improve my overall strength, to make the bike feel a lot lighter? Because when I make the bike feel a lot lighter, then I can use less energy and fatigue less. And if you use less energy and fatigue less, you have more energy left for the rest of the race to be able to keep up your speed and to keep up the intensity throughout the race. So you want to have a mixture of both. What I do for our riders is I don't program too much longer distance stuff. Every now and then I'll throw in longer distance stuff, but you should be training the aerobic training should be the stuff that gets done on the bike. So when you go and ride on the weekend, if you do 30-minute motos, go and practice doing 30-minute motos on the bike, right? That's your aerobic training. The anaerobic training you can work on during the week in the gym. And this is going to save you a lot of time and be more efficient during the week. But you're also going to find when you get out there and ride on the weekend, you're going to get more bike time in. Okay, instead of going out there and just fluffing about and spending more time talking or in the pits than you do out riding, you're going to increase your bike time, which is going to help you to increase your skills faster as well. So you're killing two birds with one stone on the weekend, and then you're getting the high intensity stuff done during the week with your training. And you can combine that with your strength work. That's the other, I know I'm going on a little tangent here, but that's the other benefit of interval training. Interval training doesn't negatively affect strength work, okay, whereas the longer distance stuff does. So if you're trying to do strength work and get stronger with part of your training, and then you're doing a whole heap of 5K runs on the other side, they work against each other. You've got one that's trying to increase strength and one which is trying to reduce strength, okay, so they're fighting against each other. Interval training doesn't do that. Interval training allows you to develop your your anaerobic energy system and your aerobic system as well. But it works together with strength work. It doesn't have a negative effect on your strength stuff. So the way that I structure our sessions for our riders is they'll do the first half of their session will be their strength work, and then the second half of their session will be their interval training and the cardio, all done in the same session. And so overall, they're doing 3 1-hour blocks of training, which are that structure. First half hour strength work, second half hour will be the interval work, conditioning, high intensity training. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a thumbs up if we're on the same page there, or if that helps give you a bit more understanding about both of the two different energy systems. Is there any questions though? I know there's a few of you on here. Any questions I can help you guys with? Let me see if there's anything coming here through on Facebook, on the book. Any questions about that, about how that applies to your training, about how that applies to your racing? Any questions at all? I'll answer them for you now. Maybe there's a specific type of cardio that you want to double check. Or there's a different piece of equipment, or maybe there's something you do and you're not sure whether it comes into the aerobic or the anaerobic energy system, or what you need to be doing. Anything I can help with there at all? Any questions? Fire away. More than happy to help. Or is that all we've got for today? Maybe that's all making sense. All right. Brent, oh, there we go. I do a lot of mountain bike riding for my cardio. Cool, okay. I'm not sure if that's a question or not, but I'll treat it as if it is a question. So if you're doing mountain biking for cardio, what you'll find is that, oh, there we go, is that better than running? I wouldn't necessarily say better or worse. The main thing with cardio, Brent, is the protocol that you use. And so what I find is a lot of riders have it flipped around the other way. They focus on, okay, what's the best type of equipment or best exercise I can do? But that's not the first thing you should be focusing on. The first thing you need to be focusing on is, are you using the right protocol and the right strategy? And then you can find a piece of equipment that's going to allow you to do that. So the most important thing is, are we doing intervals and training the anaerobic energy system, or are we using longer distance stuff and training the aerobic system? Once we've decided, okay, which energy system we're trying to train, then you can use any type of equipment to be able to do that. You could use a rowing machine, an exercise bike, a mountain bike, go for a run, elliptical trainer, assault bike, assault runner, you name it, stepping machine, running, if I haven't said that already, burpees. Okay, you can do a whole heap of things to work those energy systems. So in terms of mountain biking being an issue, the mountain biking is not really the main problem. I definitely think there's better ways to build your cardio than going for a mountain bike ride. But if you enjoy it and that's what you want to do, then you need to look at, okay, how can I train both systems? So what would that look like for mountain biking? If you enjoy mountain biking, Brent, is the aerobic energy system. You might go for a half-hour mountain bike ride or hour mountain bike ride once a week. And then the other mountain bike rides you do will be sprint work. Okay, it'll be doing hill climbs. It will be or you could do a sprint on flat land, probably not going to be too fun on a mountain bike if you like going mountain biking, but it would be more so finding a steep hill and attacking that steep hill for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, depending on where you're riding, roll back down and then go again. But in terms of mountain biking, it's probably not going to be fun, right? So there's a difference between training for progress on your bike for the weekend, for racing, and having fun. And there needs to be a bit of both. You need to enjoy the training you're doing, otherwise you're probably not going to do it for very long. So in terms of, is it better than running? I would say running is a bit more measurable, like more consistent variables, right? So when you go on a mountain bike, the track's probably always different. You ride at different trails, different weather conditions. So like I know for me, when I've been mountain biking, it was like some days you go and it might have had a bit of rain and it's really grippy. Some days it's had too much rain and there's lots of runoff and it's slippery and muddy. Some days it hasn't rained for ages and it's really slippery and dusty and slick. So there's very inconsistent variables, especially if you're riding at different places as well. It's hard to measure progress. With running, a bit easier to measure progress because you can go down to the park, it's flat, you're running 100 meters, there's less variables that are going to get in the way of progress. Running in general, I'm not a fan of because it's just high impact. I find for a lot of riders, it flares up injuries and things that they've had from years ago or that they didn't know they had, or creates new problems for them. Because they're not used to doing it. So my recommendation, like what's the best type of cardio equipment to use, would be a rowing machine or an exercise bike. They're the two best pieces of equipment because they're low impact. There's not many variables that can go wrong that are going to alter your performance, and it's easy to track, easy to measure as well. A bit harder to measure with a mountain bike. Cool. So I'm not sure if that helps. Just give me a thumbs up if that helps, Brent. Hesam, for best performance, would you have coffee with breakfast on race day? Good question. So coffee is a bit like alcohol, or caffeine is a bit like alcohol. So if you haven't had alcohol for ages, right, and then you have a drink, you probably feel pissed after you've had one drink. However, if you have alcohol every day, okay, and you have beer all the time or alcohol all the time, you can probably drink a carton of piss and you still feel perfectly normal. You can probably still drive your car, right? Not recommending that, but maybe you still blow good numbers, right? You still feel fine. And the reason is because you build up a tolerance. Hey, Jason, you build up a tolerance to it. And same thing happens with caffeine. So if you never have caffeine and then you have caffeine, like you have a Red Bull, you have a coffee, you'll probably be off your chops after you have coffee. If you have coffee every morning, your body builds up a tolerance to that caffeine. So you don't get the same spike, the same hit that you got the first time you did it. Same thing with like drugs, right? I think that's how people get addicted to, I've never done drugs myself, but from what I've seen, that's how people get addicted to drugs, is like people will do different types of drugs, and they start off and they get a particular type of hit, and then after they've done it a few times, they don't get that same hit, so they crave more and more and more, and then that's why they get addicted to it, because they're chasing that hit they got the first time, but they need more and more and more to get that same kick. And that's the same with caffeine. So in terms of performing at your best on race day, if you don't have caffeine all week and then you have caffeine on race day, it can be helpful. The time that I would use caffeine is probably for the last moto. So with caffeine, there's a saying I like to use, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul. So caffeine will increase the amount of energy you have now at the expense of the energy that you have later. Okay, so think if my energy normally runs like this, if I have caffeine, my energy is up here, it's much better than normal, but after that, my energy comes down and drops, and it's below where it was at the start. So if you're using it, like let's say you never have caffeine and then you have a Red Bull in the morning, probably not the best idea, because you're going to be crashing at the end of the day when you need the most energy, when the track's the roughest and when you're fatigued. If you just enjoy having coffee, then that's a different story. I have coffee because I enjoy having coffee. I like to go to a cafe and have a coffee, or have a coffee in the morning, but I don't do it for performance benefits. I just do it because I enjoy having it. So in terms of coffee on race day, if you have it every morning and you have a coffee in the morning on race day, it's probably not going to help with your performance, because most of the benefits you get from caffeine are going to be diluted. But if you did want to improve your performance, I probably wouldn't have caffeine in the morning. I would have it before the last race, or last couple of races if you're racing 2 classes like you have been, or like you're going to Hessen. Then you could have like a Red Bull, or half a Red Bull, or a coffee, or an espresso shot, things like that, to help improve your performance. Things to look out for with caffeine though. It can be a diuretic for some people. It is for me, right? So if you're trying to keep hydrated on race day and you have caffeine and you're pissing and shitting like there's no tomorrow, then you're going to dehydrate yourself. So you might be getting benefits from caffeine and being more mentally stimulated, but you're losing physical benefits from being dehydrated because your body's just flushing out water. So keep an eye on that. And again, everyone tolerates caffeine differently. It's like alcohol, right? Some people have alcohol and they get really aggressive when they have alcohol. Some people have alcohol and they're really laid back. Some people go to sleep when they have alcohol. Some people just can't stop talking. Okay, some people are really outgoing when they're normally quiet. Some people just want to go and fight everyone, right? Caffeine, similar thing for caffeine. Everyone responds differently. So some of you might find from having caffeine, you're overstimulated and you get the jitters and your heart's going 100 miles an hour and you can't concentrate and you're overstimulated. So if that's the case for you, then I wouldn't have caffeine. There's other ways you can improve your performance. Does that help, Hessen? Just give me a thumbs up on the video if that helps. Brent, yeah, Bruder Hill comes up my loop. The fun factor keeps it easy to do. Cool, yeah. So it's got to be a combination of, I find with training has to be a combination of both, right? It's not always going to be 100% fun. If you just focus on 100% fun, you're probably not going to make progress, okay? And if you just focus on only making progress and you hate every fucking minute of it, then for most of you, you're probably not going to find that you stick with it consistently enough. It has to be a little bit of a mixture of both. What I do find though, actually, over the years working with all the riders there's been a heap of riders that have not even been in a gym, that get in the gym. They don't like gyms for whatever reason. The people that go there, the types of equipment, it's too far away, whatever, okay? And they start working with me, and then I need them to get in the gym, or I need them to be using weight training equipment, whether they set up at home or they go and train at the gym. What I find is the gym was never actually really the problem for them. The problem is they didn't know what they were doing in the gym. Okay, and so they went in the gym and they looked like a dick and they felt like a dick and they never saw progress from what they were doing because they were never doing the right stuff and they didn't know what to do. What I find is when I start working with racers that are in this position is I have a lot more confidence in what they're doing, because now they go into the gym and they know exactly what they're doing. They know how to use the equipment because I lay out videos and everything for how to do the exercises and all the rest of it. So they go in with purpose and a bit more confidence because they know what they're doing. What starts to happen is before they hated the gym and didn't like going there and it made them uncomfortable. After they've done a few weeks of training and they start to see the progress on the bike, all of a sudden they start enjoying the training a lot more and enjoy going to the gym. And the reason they enjoy going to the gym now is not because the gym has changed. It's because they're getting results and they're seeing progress on the bike. And so the enjoyment from the training doesn't necessarily come from the training itself. It comes from the progress. It comes from seeing that they're better than last week, seeing they lift a little bit heavier, seeing their cardio improving, seeing their racing and riding improving on the weekend. And so that motivates them to keep going with the training. So it might not be their favorite thing to do. Like if they had a whole heap of spare time, it might not, like going to the gym might not be on the top of their list. But because they see the progress that they see in a short period of time, that motivates them to keep going. All of a sudden, they start to enjoy the training because they enjoy the benefits that come from it, right? So training's not always going to be fun. Even for me, like I love this stuff, and this is what I've been doing for the last 10, 11 years, right? Going to the gym. And then doing a whole heap of other training since I was 10 years old. Training's not always going to be fun. Okay, if you only train on the days where it's fun or you feel like going training, you'd probably never train, and that's going to be your problem with seeing progress. But there has to be an element of fun. If you go to every single training session absolutely hating life for a year straight, you're probably not going to be a very happy person. But I find most of the time it's not the actual activity which is the problem. The reason people don't find it fun is because they don't see the results. Okay, nothing is fun if you don't see progress. Progress makes it fun. Progress makes it fulfilling. Progress makes you want to go back and do more of it. And that comes down to having the right plan. Hey, Tom. Cool. All right. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, that's it. Hopefully that helped you guys. Again, if you liked the video, please give it a like. Any of you guys are after help with your training, okay, you need a training strategy to incorporate aerobic and anaerobic training, and you want it all mapped out for you on a silver platter so you can just get in there and do the work and not worry about reinventing the wheel, send me a private message. Let me know what you're working towards with your riding, and I'll see if I can help. Otherwise, thanks for jumping on, guys. I appreciate your support with the videos, and I'm sure I will chat to you guys soon. See ya.